Hey everyone. Today I want to talk to you about men's bullying of women online and kind of how it looks, how it feels to be a victim of it, because I have been, and what it's about, which is ultimately like silencing women and, making it so that women feel uncomfortable speaking out, and using our voices and our creative power for, you know, manifesting our wills in the world. Ultimately, that's what it comes down to. I think that bullying culture, specifically in the West, has a great character of witch trial to it. I say this completely with confidence as an individual who identifies as a witch. And I also say it just as a student of history, like that is the case. The character in which women are singled out and made into sacrificial objects of public contempt, it's completely parallel with the witch trials. And you have to understand, there was nothing a woman could do to escape being killed most of the time, although there were some loopholes, and it was often around repentance. How do you repent for something you didn't do? A lot of women died with dignity. I want us to remember that as well. A lot of women who were targeted refused to sell themselves out. That level of integrity is what you should draw on as a woman. It exists within you. So the character of online bullying is such to single out a woman, and just bullying in general, honestly. Like, women are bullied out of spaces constantly. I've done videos about how radical women are consistently targeted, and I have to say, like, the more radical you are, the more likely you will be pushed out. You just don't belong when you're radical, because what you have to say is too fucking critical and too real and too revolutionary for most individuals to understand. So, I mean, there's that character to it. So you have to understand, like, me and who I am. Can you imagine, like, 10 years ago, as a young woman, as very, like, just so young. I mean, really, when I think of it now, I'm just like astounded at how individuals my age and older were behaving with me. Like, really, it was pedophilic. Like, even though I was a legal adult, like there were elements of that going on. Anyway, when I think about it now with like my perspective, I'm kind of shocked that I went through it. Like, it still is shocking to me. When I think about certain things I went through as well that I will talk about in this video, I do get shocked again, because it's shocking how individuals will behave. Like, this is the thing with women. We are subjected to, in terms of bullying by men, you are subjected to ridicule and then gaslighting. Overwhelmingly. And that's what I went through constantly. I felt constantly gaslit, and I felt constantly ridiculed. And I felt those ways because that's what was going on. It started, I feel, with some larger YouTube accounts, male YouTube accounts, making videos in a ponage style about me. Ponage was really popular at the time on YouTube. It was like, a very particular pornographic male style of video making. And I will say this, that the culture has swung a bit, and it's less in vogue for men to behave that way. But I am a student of history, like I've said, so I know that the pendulum will swing back, and that women will be subjected to this shit again. That is, if civilization doesn't collapse completely, which we will be subjected to a whole other level of male bullying when that goes on. The ponage style videos were videos in which, you know, an individual would be making the video, and they were like response videos. And so they would have like clips of the individual that they were responding to. And the whole purpose of the video was to take the individual's arguments and to eviscerate them, humiliate the individual, ridicule the individual, completely like make them totally an individual devoid of being listened to by virtue of whatever the fuck authority this individual was drawing on to like cement their opinions, usually their maleness at the end of the day. And yeah, it was super in style. There were a lot of channels that were nothing but that. And I found it really toxic. And, you know, I was subjected to like being made, a lot of these sorts of videos being made about me. And by individuals who are less intelligent than me, mind you. So like that was a big mind fuck, because it was just like, wow, you have a lot of technical skill, and I guess you feel smart because you did this thing like where you humiliated me, but like you can't formulate an argument like I can. And this is the thing too. You should always derive a sense of pride when individuals respond to your work. You should always derive a sense of pride when somebody is making content based on your content. That means that you're an original. So, yeah. I pride myself on not making response videos. I pride myself on the fact that I can turn on my camera and ramble about whatever subject that I want to ramble about, and actually have a lot of coherent educational things to say about it. Like wow. I should be ridiculed? Really? Okay. How many individuals can do that? Not many. So, yeah, I was subjected to like a lot of fucked up ridicule of videos made in similar styles to this one. So if you understand like how I make my videos, like the idea that anyone would hate watch them and then like decide to respond and like break my videos down into like, you know, breaking apart my points. Like I make my points in a long way. I do not simplify my points. I don't just say stuff. I don't like do these cut, jump, like splash, like point videos. So I never have. So if you have individuals like watching my content to like respond, you can imagine like just how bad it was. You can just imagine it was shit. And I felt like really violated by a lot of it, because like I had men Photoshop my face onto pornography. One individual in a video did that, and I blocked him. He subsequently followed me around YouTube and various social media sites, harassing me for not responding to his video. He felt that like, despite the fact that he humiliated me in such a disrespectful way as a woman, that's a fucked up way to I won't engage. Like, this is the thing, and none of that, I would never engage with any of that. Like if you wanted to talk to me or say something about me and you did that, I would say exactly what I thought of you. I thought you were a worthless peon and you weren't worth my time, and how dare you even like try to interact with me. And I think more women need to have that attitude, honestly. Like a lot of you try to explain yourself to fuckwits. Like don't ever, if you're being engaged with in that way, like don't bother. They're fuckwits. They're fucking idiots. They are not worth your time. Honestly. And I want to say this too. Ridicule is a big tool of the privileged. I see it most online from the class privileged and from men. Two very fucked up groups of people. So, like, you have to gauge that. Like, when you're being targeted and bullied. Like, Where is this coming from? Is it about domination? Because ridicule is a form of domination, which is often what bullying is about. Ultimately, what bullying is about, and why I brought up the witch trials specifically, like, there is a metaphysical feast happening of women when women are made into scapegoats and then subsequently trashed until their spirit is broken, and they break down and cry and repent for their fucked up ways. Like, this is classic that they want us to behave this way, that this is what they're after. Ultimately, they want you crying, broken down, like women at the end of like a porno shoot. Like, honestly, like, this is it's the same thing. I want women to make the connection between like your everyday fucked up interactions with men, pornography, and everything else, and like to really think like you have a problem with pornography, but like, and you should, but also it's like happening to you and happening to women everywhere, and it's part of how men relate and dominate women. Like, it's the same thing, and specifically like in the media, this is how men control women as well. When they want to silence a woman, they turn her into a sexual object and they break her down, you know. So what will happen a lot of the times is you have a woman like me making my points, right, la-di-da-di-da, and men will seek to first turn her into a sexual object. So they will focus on her sexuality, how sexually appealing she is or not, meaning how feminine she is or not. She's turned into an object and esteemed that way, and thus it all spirals from there. So yes, I had this man long story short, I had this one man in particular Photoshop my head onto pornography, upload it with apparently some points afterwards, and he was very upset that I didn't respond. And so I never responded to any of that shit. Like, if a man did that, like, I watched some of these videos and I was just like, not all of them though, like, that's the other thing too, like, it became so common, like, it was constant, like every fucking day almost, like somebody was making a video talking about me. That's exhausting. And yet they did not pay me. I gave them content and they did not pay me. So if any of you are watching from those days, I demand payments. I demand my reparations forthwith. Fuck you, pay me. Like, you used me for your content and yet you did not pay me, you cheap fuck. Men are so cheap. So anyway, I did not have a good time. I was also like very young and still figuring out my identity and all of this too. So like, that was awful. I had a lot of individuals, specifically men, but some women too, try to befriend me so that they could manage me or control me. I had several women befriend me under false pretenses and then betray me publicly. That was brutal. And that's the kind of shit that like makes women hate other women. Like, really, if I weren't so clear and intelligent about how power works, and specifically how men's power works, I would be a fucking misogynist. I would be one of those women, because like, that kind of stuff makes you hate women. It does. It makes you hate how weak women are. It makes you hate it. Like, there's nothing lovable or esteemable about that. It's utterly unlovable. There's nothing lovable about that kind of weakness, and it's a huge barrier within feminism, is that propensity of women to so easily betray one another, and for so fucking little. For approval, for good girl approval, really, by men? How pathetic, how weak. How fucking weak. So yeah, I was very damaged by that as well. And that's kind of part of how women were used in the whole thing. Like, that being said, I did have female support. Like, I had my friend, obviously, she made a compilation of the videos, like a playlist of the over 600 videos made about me. And she also did one for Diana Boston, who is now known as Man Cheese on YouTube, but always will be Diana Boston to me. So yeah, she as well went through similar things, and when we've talked about it, she's admitted to feeling very damaged by those times, because she went through the bullying as well. So if you're I think she might give a different perspective too, just because she was at a different place in her life when it happened. But it was cruel, vicious, fucked up, not in any way, like nothing. A lot of the good that came of it came from my consciousness being expanded. Like, I really understand the social order so much better now from that time. Like, I really do. But some bad things happened from it. Like, my health completely deteriorated. When you are targeted every day with hate and negativity for years, there is no way for it not to affect your health. My mental health declined. My physical health declined. I developed rheumatoid arthritis at the age of 25. So you have to understand, like, I was handling a great deal of pressure just for making my fucking videos that are not much different than the videos I make now. The reason I want to talk about online bullying, I guess, too, is because, like, part of what's inspired so much of women's anger within the Escape the Corset movement in South Korea is the fact that some women were bullied so much by men online that they committed suicide. Like, that's a real thing. Like, and that was always under threat too. I had men threatening me all the time, like, constantly. Like, I had one individual make a video, this creepy video with, like, serial killers on it and stuff, saying that he got my personal information and he was going to give it to every sex offender on the West Coast. This man had a wife and children, and he was making videos online about this. About, like, like, it's crazy. It's crazy. But there were individuals who believed that he was sane and good because I was such a fucking bitch. How dare I be such a bitch? How dare I have my nose in the air? So yeah, it was a bad time in my life in terms of, like, what I was subjected to. And this is part of why women only became such an important part of how I organize. Like, I felt so much stronger after just spending time with women and engaging and talking to women about politics. Like, in just that space where men aren't there, women act so much better. Trying to talk about politics with women in a mixed space is such a fucking tightrope because so many of them are so male identified. Apart from that, like, just not being subjected to ridicule constantly, like, being treated, not always, I mean, I still get subjected to ridicule by certain women because they're male identified and losers, to be honest. But I felt very much freer. And, my content, I think, has shifted since then and gotten much better and much more clear and much more direct. But it was brutal going through that. And I know that things could, I still get periodically, like, hordes of men coming over because, like, one of my videos gets posted on some, like, hate wank page on the nether regions of the internet where losers hang out, and they come over to, like, mark their territory on my work. And I find it really troubling. I really hate it when I'm, like, on Twitter, and you know how I tweet if you follow me. Like, I do these sorts of cryptic, sub-tweety, passive-aggressive even, or private messages to individuals who I may love, like, out into the ether through Twitter. Like, that's how I use it. I have no interest in using Twitter to be like, hey, y'all, this is happening and this and this. Plenty of individuals are doing that. I want to do my own thing. So oftentimes, like, I'll put a message out like that, and I'll have a man respond. And even though I block him, anybody who comes and sees like my work or sees my account knows that this man has responded. So like I may not see it, but I see like when I look at it, like there's a little response, and it's like some little guy pissing on my work. Like that's what a lot of it's about. Men just want to mark their territory. They want you to want it known that you are being surveilled, and that you are being, like, you are under their eye, for lack of a better term. Like, under his eye. Yup. So, yeah, the bullying of women online it's really, it's objectified, it's pornographic, it's destructive as hell. It destroys some women, like, you know, and the whole goal of it is to break your spirit. Like, there's this Asada Shakur quote where she says, she said something to the effect of, like, only the strong go crazy, the weak just go along. Which gives you something to think about. Like, strong women stick out. They are targeted. They are silenced through, you know, the implementation of pornographic witch hunt style, like, you know, behavior phenomenon. They are scapegoated, and then, you know, either they're broken, you know, spiritually or physically. I broke physically, which I'm sure many of them are very excited about, that, like, I have been disabled and crippled by, like, that time. But, I was not broken spiritually, and nor can I be, for I am me, and I own my spirit, and it is all that I own. And I am happy to be the way that I am. But yeah, they're after feasting on your broken female spirit. They want you to be broken down and to repent in public about your fucked up ways of being a woman and how you've not womaned right. And this is the same thing with, like, the TERF trans cult horseshit, where women are, like, targeted with, like, these accusations of hatred, when really, like, they're just defending themselves a lot of the time from encroaching, we're defending ourselves from the encroaching disrespect for our spaces and rights, and the fact that, like, we're just, our political status as a people is being removed, all right? And men will never be able to fill the social role of woman. It is not possible. That's just the reality. The social role of woman is one that men cannot fill. It's clear, you know, like, I want to say this too, like, somebody brought this up, and I had forgotten about this particular because it was so common, but, like, Nicotine too, who later became ContraPoints, like, he online, like, in terms of, like, I think Stickum sent me pornography before to, like, look at. He's like, is this porn, Nuke? I'm just not sure, like, and now he identifies as woman. He's not a woman. If he were a woman, he would not have done that to me. If he were a woman, he would not have ridiculed me in that way. If he were a woman, he would be, like, vulnerable in the way that I was in that interaction. He cannot become she. And the tactics employed, whether it be whatever a woman is speaking out about, like, are the same. Isolate her, break her down. So it's important not to be isolated. It's important to have a social network of strong women who have your back. It's important to not let men come in and try to manage you, because, like, honestly, like, the male friendships developed at the time were destructive, and as destructive to me as the fucking bullying itself, honestly. Like, they confused things and prevented me from, like, getting clearer sooner, because, like, you know, they were like, oh, I want to help you. Don't trust. Thirdly, like, yeah, so let's see. Yeah, the tactics are the same. the male interference is the same. Like, they want to isolate you, they want to like break you down, and they want to eat and feast on your destruction and have you out. It's very Christian, which is funny because like this was happening to me from like a mainly atheist community. And it's funny, afterwards I renounced my atheism and, you know, had, you know, a spiritual awakening, because what was happening was just like the metaphysics of it were too powerful to ignore. Like, it was too real. It was made too real to me, on too many levels. And also like the level of psychic attack I fell under as well, like that I had to battle. And yeah, it was powerful. So I also have to say too, to individuals, a warning to individuals who are engaging in black magic online by, you know, your behavior, who you know who you are, right? When you are engaging in these ways, in these unconscious ways, you know who you are and what you're doing. Be careful. Be very careful. You are probably tangoing with witches who are more powerful than you, which is interesting because many of these individuals like have disappeared, like the Ponage individuals, like they have fallen off into obscurity or like whatever. They're, you know, and I am me, and I'm doing my things, and I was not broken. I am resilient and prolific and definitely a survivor. And I also had the term victim utilized most grossly against me, and it's very cynical the way in which men specifically use women's victimization by them against them. You know, it's interesting because being a victim of something should mean that you have some expertise, but not in men's world. No. Being a victim means that you are broken as a woman and that you are not to be listened to or trusted because you know some truth about what men do. I am very clear, I guess, from that time. I wanted to say with this video, I'm very clear about what happened and what I was subjected to. And for any of you going through bullying, like, it's important to have, again, strong female social network. Be clear about what your intentions are when, you know, do you need to step back? I don't encourage women to step back. I never encourage women to step back. I was very disappointed that some women stepped back, honestly, like, and started doing something else. Like, you have a right to use these platforms, you know, however you see fit. Like, and us taking back media control is an important part of like waging a feminist, you know, consciousness revolution. Like, it's part of that. Like, we have to speak with these mediums. Like, we have to use them effectively. Like, we are the media now, right? With social media, you are the media producer. So you need to be clear about what you're producing, why you're producing it, and what your intentions are. Because we cannot have a lot of unconscious media. We need to have like very, very clear media being produced. So yeah, kind of vulnerable. It's a hard thing for me to talk about. Like, I am shocked by some of it still. Like, I live my life. I don't, you know, focus much on that time, but like that time it was hard to live through. It was really hard to live through, and I'm a different person from it. I really am, in so many different ways. And I'm grateful to the individuals who showed me kindness at that time, but also like, yeah, it was bad times. It was bad times. So that's how bullying is for women online. Men employ ridicule and humiliation. It is domination, pure and simple. And they change their tactics. And like, once that kind of hard level of like bullying is no longer popular, they employ gaslighting. You know, it's humiliate and gaslight. So yeah, just be clear. Just be clear. And boundary testing as well. Like, I consistently see this with feminists talking to men. Like, your boundaries are being tested. Are you aware of that? Be clear. Be clear, and be clear about where you should be putting your focus. Period. It should be on other women, always. That's the future. Men are the past. All right. So I think that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening to me talk for half an hour about being a victim of bullying and how it impacted me. And I would love to hear any other women's thoughts about being bullied and like how it parallels or doesn't. What's, whatever. I will see you soon.